Hey, today we're going to talk about the first and second person plural. Now, as a review, let's talk about the singular. So, how do we say I in Latin, which is first person singular? We use the pronoun ego. Now, the verb ends with O and M when you have ego as your subject. For second person singular, so you singular, we use the word to as the pronoun, and then the verb will end in S. So that's kind of a short review of what we had before. Now, how do we say we and you plural or y'all? Well, for we would use the pronoun nos, N-O-S. And then all the verbs will end in mus. So if nos is your subject, your verb ends in mus. If your verb ends in mus, nos is your subject. For y'all, we use the pronoun wos, vos. And its verbs will end in tis. So again, if wos is my subject, my verb ends in tis. If my verb ends in tis, wos is my subject. Now, how I was able to remember this is I would look at the endings and kind of how they fell alphabetically. So I noticed that M here would then be followed by N. And then that T is followed by V. So that's how I remembered which one was which, because I felt that was what suited me best. Now, I have a student who came up with this brilliant idea. She came up with kind of, not a rhyme, but a saying that mooses have noses. And that really helped a lot of the students. So if you feel like that's what you'd like to do, then by all means, go for it. So some examples of the word nos and wos. So nos ad tabernam ambulamus. Now, we can easily take out nos because we can imply the subject and just have ad tabernam ambulamus. But because we know that this verb ends in mus, we know we need a we as the subject. So either one of these sentences translates to we are walking to the store. Same thing here. Nos puellis dona tradidimus, or simply puellis dona tradidimus. This mus verb ending tells us that we're going to have a we no matter what. So we gave gifts to the girls. For wos, very similar thing. So wos is my subject, my verb ends in tis. And we can have, just because of the tis, we know that it's you. So vos estis stultissimi, or estis stultissimi could translate to you are very stupid. And then vos ad villam cum amico revenitis would be the same thing grammatically as ad villam cum amico revenitis, because we know that tis means that we're going to have vos as a subject, and therefore in English we'd have a you. So whether or not we have the pronoun, if the verb ends in either mus or tis, we have to supply it in English. It's kind of like in English where you name a subject once, and then if it doesn't change, you just start putting a pronoun like he or they. So the Romans and in Latin, you can identify what your subject was by looking at the verb ending. So tis will always go with wos. Okay, so here's the big chart. These are all the verb endings that we've kind of dealt with this year in one spot. It's kind of an easy way to look at this. Don't laugh, but there is a kind of song that you can learn to go with the chart. Present tense really only, but it is kind of helpful since most of these don't change in any of the other tenses. And it goes along with the Mickey Mouse Club song, especially from the one from like when I was young. So the Mickey Mouse Club song goes M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. So you have that kind of rhythm. So the first three singulars all go together, and then each of these will be its own kind of thing. So it goes O-S-T, M-U-S, T-I-S, and T, O-S-T, M-U-S-T-I-S-T. And that's just kind of a simple way to remember it. You'll find sometimes kids are humming along as they're taking the test, but it's a good way to remember it. Here's the irregular verb sum. We've seen it multiple times, but just kind of, this will be something that we need to memorize. Est was obviously the first verb we ever saw. He is, so now we know how to say I am. Sum, you are, es, he is, est, we are, sumus, y'all are, estis, and then they are, sunt. So just begin remembering that. Here's verbs for all the tenses. You have the present tense here. So O-S-T, M-U-S-T, S, and T. This is the imperfect tense because we have the BA. Remember that. And then here we have our perfect tense. And remember that'll go with S-U, X, V, and long E. Tell us we're going to need these endings. Of special note, and we've covered this before, but just a reminder, E-R-U-N-T is the really big different one. And then here's sum in all the tenses. Nothing overly special about that. Now, I do want to give you kind of a simplified version of this. It helps a lot of the kids when they're trying to remember what endings go with what pronoun. So, for ego, you have the verb endings O, M, and I. So if my verb ends in any of those three, ego is your subject. For the pronoun to, you have S, and then isti, I-S-T-I. Now, pay attention that anytime you see a verb that ends in I, you double check and make sure it's not I-S-T-I, because if you look, ego and to kind of have that. So that's something that you definitely need to make sure you pay attention to. For nos, we're lucky, it only ends in M-U-S. And for wos, we only have T-I-S. So that's kind of just a very, not dumbed down, but consolidated version of the verb endings and the pronouns that go with them. So that's definitely something that you'll probably want to memorize and just keep handy. I know it'll be on the exam and a lot of your other tests. So this is definitely a slide that will help you a lot.